2 Corinthians chapter 10, starting with the 4th verse. 2 Corinthians 10 and 4. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but are mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds, casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalteth itself against the knowledge of God, and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Christ. And our key verse, in having in a readiness to revenge all disobedience when your obedience is fulfilled. You may be seated. The more popular scripture out of this chapter is, for the weapons of our warfare are not carnal. Our weapons of our warfare are spiritual. But it goes on and it begins to speak about the readiness to revenge our disobedience. And many people are big on getting revenge. Many people are big on, if someone does them wrong, they're going to get them back. And they will use a lot of energy to do that. And many times people do things and get places in their life out of an area of revenge, or an area of hurt, or an area of bitterness. And many times that can be a fuel to take us somewhere, but it's not a good place to go from. When somebody hurts us and we say, well, I'll show them or I'll get them, that's not a good place to come from. But in this scripture, it tells us to revenge our disobedience, to revenge our disobedience. So that's an area that we should go after to revenge. So what is it that we're going to revenge? Because all of us have been born with the natural state of disobedience. It's in our nature to be disobedient. It's not something that needs to be taught to us. You tell a child, don't do something, then they start thinking about doing it. I don't want you to go and get those cookies that are on the 3rd shelf. They start thinking about taking those cookies off the 3rd shelf. And then it starts growing and growing from there. And even as adults, when we're told not to do something, that much more we want to do it. Let me say this quickly. A lot of people are anti-church, anti-religion, however you want to say it. And for a lot of reasons, it's because we can't. We can't do this. We can't say this. We can't go there. Or don't do this or don't do that. When we are taught that, it is in our nature to rebel against it. And I don't look at churches as saying a bunch of no's and a bunch of don'ts, because it's in our nature to rebel when we're told to do that. But I look at it as replacing it with something else. But when we're told not to do something or don't do something, it fights against us inside of ourselves. That when we're told not to, then we want to do it that much more. And when it's focused on, then we want to look into it. Why do they keep telling me not to do this or don't do this? I didn't know this. I heard this last week on the radio. It's not judgment. It's just what I heard. But in the tobacco industry, they know that the warning that it can cause cancer, that it is to their benefit to tell people that. I know you're not getting this part, but they have learned that warning people that tobacco causes cancer makes people want to do it. I never knew that. And when I heard that, I was like, wow. Because of the warning, when they started putting the warning on the sides of cigarette package, the sales of cigarettes shot through the roof. Because when people heard about the warning, the way they seen it was, no one's going to tell me that. No one's going to do that to me. I'll go buy 2 packs. It doesn't matter how you break it down and say, this is the results of doing this. Here's, if you took the benefits of whatever you may see of it, the benefits, and these are the consequences, but just because somebody, and I know some of you are thinking, well, he's preaching against that. I'm just telling you what they said. This wasn't even a religious program. So it's just a regular program on the radio. I'm focusing on the point of disobedience. And that people are like, no one's going to tell me that I can get cancer from doing this. And it's not the only thing. We could grab something else. We can grab the sweetener, the things that it causes. And people are going to be like, no one's going to tell me that if I do that, I'm going to cause cancer. It'll cause cancer. I'll just do more of it. Where does that come from? Where does that come from when we react like that? Where it comes from, it is in our nature to disobey. If I tell my children over and over, don't, I'm just reinforcing their thought on that thing. And as a pastor, if I sit there and tell you, no, don't, that's what you're going to think about. That's what you're going to focus on. I can't go there. I can't say that. I can't do this. I can't do that. And it's going to be there in our mind, and it comes against in ourselves that thing that we want to rebel. That thing that we want to do what we're told not to do. But in this scripture, it says the readiness to revenge that. The readiness to revenge that nature in us. Because all of us, every single one of us, have suffered consequences for our disobedience. I know some of you don't like to hear that, but we all have suffered consequences for our disobedience. Some more than others. There's just some people, though, they'll just fight it and fight it and fight it, their disobedience, and just say, I can get away with it. The laws of numbers will catch up to us as long as we keep disobeying. Arizona has maybe the strictest DUI laws in the country. They got very strict DUI laws. And there's many people that'll be like, no one's going to tell me not to drive drunk. And if somebody drives drunk one time, the chances are they're probably not going to get caught. But they do it over and over again. Eventually, their disobedience is going to catch them. Eventually, their disobedience is going to catch up to them. We do things in our life that we know we're disobeying something. Eventually, it catches up to us. And we pay the price for those actions. But it's not about looking at, well, I can't drive drunk. It's looking at, let me revenge what disobedience has done to my life. Let me revenge it. Let me get back at the things that I have lost because of my disobedience. Let me revenge it back. All of us have suffered losses in our personal lives. But in many areas, we can gain it back. We can revenge it back. We can take it back. Or we can keep giving in to our disobedience. We can keep surrendering to our disobedience. Or we could say, enough of my disobedience.